Hey everyone, we're going to go through Bitcoin today and do a little bit of a price update, as we are in an interesting area where price could definitely be moving up to some of these higher regions around that 35 to 40k levels, and I'll show you how and where that could happen. So if that sounds good to you, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's get straight into it. Now, whilst I do think that Bitcoin will make its move lower potentially later on in the year, I do think that for the short to medium term, at least in the next month or two, we do have some areas above us which would make total sense for us to target in and around between this area here of about $40,000, $38,000 at the maximum, and at $35,000 as well. So you can see that we've basically been channeling in this parallel channel that I've just drawn out over here, and you can see that what else is towards the top of the channel. We've got this order block of price that we broke down from, that we mentioned, from about that $40,000 level. So this is a key order block that I'm looking for us to test. You can see as well that if we're on the daily chart, that the 200-day moving average is coiling and curving all the way down over here when rapidly falling, and that's coming in at about 38 to 40, $37,000. So you know, if we were to move up into this range and attack this area over here, you know, that could occur sometime between June, July, August, and maybe make that dead cat bounce from that $25,000 level, and then potentially take out this low and challenge some of the lower order blocks that we've spoken about. So that's you know, another reason that we're looking for those sort of price levels. And as well, we've obviously got the horizontal support levels at 33,000 and 34,000. So don't expect that if we move up to this level that we're going to move, you know, much higher. Okay, you can also see that the weekly 21 EMA, which is our key momentum indicator in bull and bear markets, where we have tested this once back in December, we tested it again and got rejected over here in April. And if we were to make another measured move up to here, the 21-week EMA is coiling down and still falling rapidly as well, and that's coming in at about 35,000. So that's why I'd be looking for sellers to step in at this area and potentially maybe even get above it, you know, hit maybe that 200-day moving average, some of those key order blocks that we just spoke about, and then start rolling over to the downside. So I still think that that is the most likely scenario, because, you know, breaking a downward parallel channel does take a lot more energy, okay, in terms of market momentum, okay, because you're already basically, you know, hammering down at these lower levels, and I do think that it is going to be a bit more of a process before we move lower. And the 50-week and the 100-week simple moving averages have not quite yet crossed over, and you can see in the last bear markets that what we had there was when we got the crossover there or thereabouts is when we really made that bottom, and we're not really that close to crossing over just yet, because the 50-week is sort of flattening out a little bit. So maybe if we might get this crossover, especially if Bitcoin can manage to push up a little bit and smooth out this line a little bit later in the year at about August, July, September. So that's basically the timeline that I'd be looking at for Bitcoin to start moving down. Key levels on the short term that I'd be looking at, it's really just breaking this $32,500. If we break this, I would not be surprised to basically fill up this void of price action that we basically sliced straight down from, which was very low volume, and basically start to attack some of these areas. So I'm expecting, if we get a break either on the weekly or the daily chart, okay, over here, this $32,500, an upside of about 15 to 20% for Bitcoin. And if we even dial this down a little bit lower on some of the lower time frames, I still do think that this does look like a potential structure of some low, okay, swing low, and then we've got a higher low. So we're starting to create a little bit of market structure where we can just move up. But again, this could well just be, again, you know, another bear flag where we start to, you know, chop and move into this sort of price action, and we do something similar to what we did over here, where we basically started to take out some highs, you know, chop around, make everyone think that we're going higher, and then move lower. So this is still looking like, you know, the start of a potential bear flag, because of the nature of the price action, because you want price action to be quite impulsive, move up, especially in crypto, test some lower levels, and then move up even higher and make these really big impulsive moves up. But at the minute, you know, all of this looks pretty corrective, so I am still thinking that this is the start of a bear flag. But for the time being, like I said, we are creating some of these higher lows in market structure, and we are testing actually this order block, okay, currently where we moved up. And this is why you never trade breakouts, is over here. Okay, we basically got this break of about 31.3, moved back down, and we're currently into this order block, okay, which is a cluster of price action that basically was the down candle before the up move that broke this. So I wouldn't be surprised for us to see some sort of consolidation here and then basically still move higher in the next week or two. As we're about halfway through the video, if you're enjoying these and you're getting value, obviously like, subscribe, follow my journey, know where I'm buying and where I'm selling. This helps me to put out consistent videos. And again, let me know down below in the comment section with what you're doing below and what your thoughts are on the market. So without further ado, let's crack on. The DXY has also made a fairly significant correction to the downside. We have got about a 4 or 5% correction in the DXY, which is pretty significant in traditional stock market and forex. Okay, and you know, it is still sort of chopping around and downtrending. We have got a big order of price action over here, which is this main order block at about $198. Okay, so if we were to basically continue moving down into this order block over here, okay, then maybe that is a bit of a catalyst for Bitcoin to continue moving higher. And although when the DXY corrects or moves sideways, nothing has to happen in the markets, okay, but it does give you a bit of a signal that if the DXY, okay, is making a bit of a correction and move down, and Bitcoin hasn't quite made its corrective move back to the upside to counter that move from the DXY, then you know, definitely something that you want to be looking out for, especially if the DXY continues to correct a little bit more to the downside. And you know, we predicted this when we were moving up, okay, that Bitcoin hadn't made its move down yet and broken that $33,000 level. But the same has to be true on the way down, is that, you know, everything ebbs and flows. So I'm expecting the DXY to still challenge this $99 level, which would make total sense to me. And it's exactly what has happened in the past when we've reached these regions, okay? So let's keep an eye out for that as well. Quick word on the altcoins is we are looking at Bitcoin dominance to basically give us that clue and that indication for when we might want to be a little bit more risk on for the altcoins, but we are still expecting Bitcoin dominance to break 47%. And we said this all the way down here. We said we're expecting this to basically move to the upside, whether Bitcoin moves up or whether it moves down, because in a bear market, people want to take risk off the table, and in an already risky environment, money and liquidity is going to be flowing into Bitcoin as more of the safer asset in crypto. But you know, if we break up here, we don't have to create new all-time highs or reach 70% or anything like that. But I would expect for us to challenge some of these levels at about 57%, 53%. I really do think that Bitcoin has got a good shot of making that. And again, what is the Fibonacci target from the move that we broke down from? You can see, let's get rid of this reverse fib. We've got the 68. 0.618 at about 60%, might be a little bit high, but definitely a possibility. Again, we've got this order block of price action. You can trade order blocks on any chart, and then we've got the 50% move at about 50%. So this is definitely one big area that I'm looking at. If Bitcoin breaks 48%, I am expecting it to take control and to move higher another you know, 6, 8, 9%. And if we just look at like Ethereum and how that's looking in comparison to Bitcoin, looking a lot weaker, and you can see that that's reflected in the chart where Bitcoin is at least bouncing and showing some strength at that 30k level, okay, that it's broke down from initially and made that lower low. But Ethereum is really loitering in and around that $1,700 level. But similar to Bitcoin, like I said, to be honest, I would expect still Ethereum to challenge 2100, 2200, and again, that might give you a bit of confluence over here to get some sort of reversion to the mean, chop around, and then potentially bear flag a little bit lower into some of these lower price targets, which I said might ultimately end up about $800, $600, or even $400 for Ethereum. So it's all about tying these indicators in together, and when we see 2, 3, 4 of these line up in a row, then we can really start to have a little bit more clarity and confidence in the market with where we're going to be going. So if we see Ethereum starting to, you know, move back to the upside, challenging this order block, but is still looking a lot weaker than Bitcoin, and Bitcoin really reaches that 200-day simple moving average, the 21-week EMA, and the trend lines and order blocks that we spoke about above, and we've also got that CME gap at 36,000. So if we start to see weakness in those areas and we start to roll over and we can't push up any higher, then it is likely that at that point we're probably going to be moving lower. But don't get too bearish towards the bottom of a parabolic move just yet. Markets are designed to frustrate and really shake people out of the market. So I do think there is potential here for Ethereum to actually jump up another 20-25%. Along with a lot of the other altcoins, but do look at the Ethereum chart. You can see here that we basically are looking a little bit weak on this, and this is looking a little bit head and shoulders-y where we get these distribution patterns. And I said to you over here that this is not likely to be a bull flag. I think that we're likely to see weakness over here, and if Ethereum really cleanly breaks this 5,500 Satoshi level, then I do think that the next level is at the very least 4,500, and probably going to be chopping around somewhere along this trend line, which would represent another 25% downside action in Ethereum Bitcoin alone. So that's why I'm looking at this 4,000 area as a really big area to be keeping an eye on for Ethereum. Could be a good chance for Ethereum to make a nice bounce, or to really get that reaccumulation for the next leg higher in the next run. Last asset that I'm looking to correlate to Bitcoin is the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq, and you can see that we're currently bouncing from our $3,800 low that we made back towards the end of May. And currently we are testing this order block over here, but similar to Bitcoin, we are in a little bit of an expanding flat correction for the S&P 500. So if we were to challenge some of these order blocks over here at about 4,500 is the highest I think that the S&P can go before we move lower, and we basically do this again, create a lower high and then deviate back to the downside. If we start to see weakness in the S&P in these regions over here, which I'm circling, then expect that to correlate down to Bitcoin, and again give us another reason and another indicator to use in Confluence to let us know that we're basically potentially going to make that last leg to the downside, or another leg to the downside from there. So I hope you got some value from the video. Patience is key. Stick to your convictions, know what the key levels are, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, like the video, and obviously turn on the bell notifications so you can keep up to date with all the videos. And until the next one, I'll catch you in the next video.